Okay, welcome to our webinar this morning, the virtual industry tours, to all those people out there who are attending the the tour. Today we're going to have a look at DSV Air and Sea Industries. To start off, I'd like to introduce myself. I'm Robin Lockington and I represent the Future Connect Local Learning Employment Network, and we've worked with DSV and our person in Sydney for the tour. I'd just like to begin by acknowledging the traditional custodians of the land on which we meet today and pay my respects to their elders past, present and emerging. Today, we're going to be joined also by Paul Thompson, who is a Managing Director for DSV Industries across Australia and New Zealand, and welcome Paul. And also to Robert Brown from RAB Consulting, who will be our tour guide taking us through the industry. So perhaps Paul, if we can begin, could you give us a brief background to DSV Air and Sea Industries?
No, absolutely. Thanks, Robin, and good morning, everybody listening in. Look, I suppose firstly, let me tell you a little bit about DSV. DSV is a global multinational freight forwarding company, which all sounds very fancy. Our head office is in Copenhagen, in Denmark. We employ 44,000 staff around the world, and we're across most facets of what we'd call the logistics industry, and that is freight forwarding, customs brokerage, road transport, and warehouse and distribution. And I'm sure that Robert and Matt will expand on kind of those areas later on in the hour. But a couple of comments I wanted to just make to you all today really is more about, number one, my pathway into this industry, so that you perhaps get a feel for the accessibility of the industry and how it's kind of open to all comers, and there's no barriers. And secondly, touch just briefly on our own cadet program. So look, with myself, look, for my sins, I come from across the ditch. I'm an Aucklander from New Zealand. And my journey in freight forwarding began many years ago. I suppose, unfortunately, I can sort of say 35 plus years ago, when look, I just finished in New Zealand year 13 at school. In Australia, I suppose that's year 12, and wanted to actually become a teacher, secondary school teacher. And at the time, back in the 80s, I was a year too young to apply to teachers college in those days. I suppose it's just go to university these days. So I had to get a job for a year, and in that year, between 17 and 18, I got a job. I actually lived close to the airport in Auckland, and got a job at a local freight forwarding company. I suppose you could say the rest is history. I never went back to following that desire to be a school teacher. I, in fact, developed a career in freight forwarding and customs brokerage, and here I am today. And look, my pathway from there was again, just to let you know, I suppose the opportunities in the industry was I began a career as a junior operator, and quickly found my niche was in customs brokerage, which is essentially looking after all border compliance for shipments that are coming in and out of the country, and studied to become a customs broker in New Zealand. And within a few years of even commencing the role, I moved into a customs manager's role, and then in my mid-20s, I was very fortunate to have the opportunity to start up my own business. So I only ever worked for that one company, worked for them for 6 or 8 years, and then started up my own company and developed that for the next 18 years. And then in 2007, I was fortunate to again that company was acquired by DSV. So I became the managing director for DSV in New Zealand, and in 2013 I moved to Melbourne and became the managing director of DSV in Melbourne, Australia. And the reason I suppose for telling the story is, I suppose, I was no straight A student at school. I wasn't destined to get a double degree in law and economics. I was just an average guy looking for a career to move into. And I thought teaching was going to be a good one, but in fact I found that freight forwarding and absolutely loved it. And I think don't necessarily have to be top of the class. I think there's a lot to be said for diligence and applying yourself in whatever career path you take. And that's really was my motto, and it still is today. You know, I don't consider myself to be a rocket scientist. You know, I might be sitting here today, I'm responsible for 350 staff, you know, across 9 branches, running a company that has turnover in excess of $270 million, all very big numbers. But I'm just a guy doing a job. You know, there's nothing, there's no, you know, thrones or hierarchy that I put myself on. And I think that's something that's really important to really acknowledge when you're looking at starting your career and your journey in the world of a working life, is that don't put any barriers in front of yourself, you know, because you know, here I am coming from a relatively I suppose you'd call a blue collar background in Auckland, New Zealand, and today I find myself in what I consider to be a very, very successful role, and so it's open for all of you. I also just wanted to touch on, I suppose, DSV is, you know, what has it allowed me to do? You know, I mean, some of the benefits that have come from this industry that I fell into and this career that I've followed is, look, I have had the opportunity to travel a lot. You know, I've been right through sort of Europe and the Americas and Asia, and I'm fortunate also that we have 9 branches through Australia and New Zealand. So probably most weeks pre-COVID, shall we say, I would always be traveling to one of the other branches, and obviously being from New Zealand, and we have 4 branches over in New Zealand, I get over to New Zealand a lot. My wife and I, we moved to Melbourne, but our 3 kids, they're adult kids, they live in Auckland, so I get back there a lot. So look, it's allowed me, I suppose, that scope to travel along. It's allowed me to develop my skills and attributes as a manager and as a leader in business. And I'm very thankful for the industry and DSV for giving me that opportunity. The other thing to touch on was, you know, the cadet program that the DSV actually runs. And look, it's not just DSV. There's a number of freight forwarders, perhaps more the multinational type freight forwarders that run these types of programs. But you know, we chose a couple of years ago to begin to invest in our own quality staff. You know, rather than, you know, looking for 3, 5, 8-year experienced staff in the industry that perhaps got a job but really hadn't got a rounded experience of logistics. We decided that we would look to develop our own talent, as I say. And so the program here at DSV, just to give you an idea of how that works, is it's a 2-year program. And through that 2 years, you'd be exposed to, I think it's about 8 different sectors of our business, covering everything from, you know, time in the warehouse through to looking at freight forwarding divisions of imports and exports, air freight and sea freight, the customs brokerage side of things, and then also leading through into the finance teams and our commercial teams, which are the sales and procurement types teams. So you get a very well-rounded, I suppose, exposure to all the different facets of our business. And look, probably to finish off, you know, the skills required, or perhaps from a skill perspective, the subjects that you need to study to move into this industry. Look, you know, there's nothing overly technical that you require. Look, a good understanding of maths. A lot of what we do does come down to figures. Not overly technical, but we're often talking cubic meters and kilos and 20-foot containers and how many cubes fit into a 20-foot container, et cetera, et cetera. So an understanding of or concept of numbers, and really just the ability to learn, because you get a great opportunity to learn through that 2 years and absorb that information and apply yourself. But probably the biggest attribute you really need is one of servicing customers, because that's what we do. You know, when you go through the next hour and you sort of see what is involved in the freight forwarding industry. Yes, we move cargo from A to B, and we use planes and we use ships and we use trucks to get that freight moved. But ultimately, we have a series of commercial clients that just want to know where their freight is. So when I say yes, we're in the business of moving freight, we're really in the business of communication. So you have to be confident to be able to communicate with your clients, to tell them where their cargo is. Often we might not be able to affect something that perhaps might have delayed the cargo, but telling the customer and being straight up with them and letting them know that it is delayed is far better than saying nothing at all. So it's that confidence and that desire to want to be heavily involved in the customer service side. A lot of customer contact from a very early on in our industry you would be exposed to. So it's a lot of fun in that respect. And really just, the capability to apply yourself is really all you kind of need to enter our industry. So look, on that note, I thank you all. I wish you all the best in your journeys ahead of you, and enjoy the next hour with Robin and Matt taking you through DSV, and thank you for the opportunity to present DSV to you.
Yeah, thank you, Paul. And also thank you for allowing us access to your industry, and also for your time. Because I know, being the Managing Director of Australia and New Zealand, you certainly have a lot on your plate and doing a lot of things. And we appreciate being able to come into the industry today. So in a moment, I'll hand over to Robert Brown. If you can come back on video, Robert.
I'm trying to.
Yep. And we'll begin there we go.
You're right.
Okay, yeah, so now I'll hand over to Robert Brown, who's going to be our tour guide through DSV Industries today. And you're on, Robert, and I'll give you the screen.
Okay, thanks, Robin. And thank you very much, Paul, for that introduction about DSV. Just, Robin, can you hear us clearly, just to make sure for the students' benefit? Assume so. Okay. So today here we're in Sydney. I'm just going to quickly show you out the window. We're at Sydney Airport, the international terminal and the domestic terminal. We're fortunate today to have Matthew Baker, who's the branch manager he works with, Paul Thompson, the managing director, and Matt is the branch manager. Morning, Matt. How are you?
Good morning, guys.
All right. Matt, maybe just tell us at the start, just what is your role and how did you get into the industry at the start?
Yeah, Rob, my role here is the branch manager of DSV New South Wales. My day-to-day scope, if you will, is all of our freight forwarding and transport operations into, out of and around New South Wales. So I got in the industry almost 19 years ago now. Much like Paul mentioned before, I fell into the industry as well. In fact, I was still studying my HSC, at the back end of studying my HSC.
Right.
Not quite sure what I wanted to do.
Did you want to be a school teacher like Paul, or
no, my studies were geared mainly towards IT, to be honest. I funnily enough, needed to make a little bit of cash for schoolies at the end of the year.
Yep.
And an opportunity came up through a family contact to take on a casual job, just driving a forklift, essentially unpacking containers in Port Botany, or in Botany rather.
Yep.
The traditional heartland of freight forwarding in New South Wales.
Not far away from where we are right now, is it? No?
Exactly right. And look, it was only to begin with, only half days when I could fit it in around study. I had walked away, I guess you could say, from my evening job as a pizza maker with Pizza Hut. But I needed money, of course, for schoolies. So look, I started doing a couple of half days. I finished my HSC. I wasn't quite sure if I wanted to continue study immediately or perhaps take a year off like many of my friends did.
Yeah.
However, there was demand from the freight forwarding company that I'd started to work for consecutive days. So 2 days led into 3 days quite quickly, 3 into 5 shortly thereafter. And look, to be honest, the pay for a forklift driver in any market in Australia is quite high. Even as an 18-year-old. So
Matt, was that back at was it DSV at that stage?
No,
or was it another
I started off my career with an Australian-owned freight forwarder.
Okay.
And spent many years with them, which I'll obviously get to. So I guess to a degree, you might say the money attracted me at that point. Having friends leave in year 10 to complete building apprentices and what have you. I was making considerably more than them at that time.
Yeah.
However, I always knew that I wanted more out of my career. I had completed work experience a number of years before in a corporate environment and really knew that I wanted to get into the leadership side of the industry. And so when an opportunity arose to take on a position in a now non-existent role within freight forwarders, a customs house clerk role in my previous employer's brokerage department. I took that opportunity. Now that was at a 50% pay cut, literally, but it was my first step into the administrational side and of the industry, and actually making things move and arranging border clearances. So,
and was that still in Sydney, or
that was still in Sydney? That was with the same company.
Okay.
So about a year and a half working in their warehouse, with obviously the casual beginning to begin with, and then from then onwards, I guess I got hooked on the industry. It's fast paced. Particularly the air freight side of things. You're forever learning. Legislation changes regularly. There's always challenges in our industry. There's always something bigger, better to move or do.
And you just mentioned then about you're always learning. So it's not like learning at school where you're actually studying and textbooks. It's more on the job learning.
A lot of it is on the job acquired learning, if you'd like to call it like that. Particularly on if you work for a business such as ourselves that do operate our own warehouses. There's a lot of moving parts, and you actually get to physically see the result of all the paperwork that we do at our desk each day as the freight transit through the warehouse. And it'd be nice to show you guys a snapshot of the warehouse later on.
We'll do that. That'd be great. All right. Okay.
But from that point, after joining the brokerage team as a house clerk and running documents around Sydney to quarantine and handing documents to truck drivers down on Botany Road.
Right. Wasn't the technology there is nowadays?
Absolutely not. Now everything is electronic releases. There's no need really to leave the office in that regard.
So if you're a student, a 16-year-old student in Victoria, having good computer skills important, which you think most of them would?
I think most people are fairly computer competent these days. Look, basic Windows skill, basic MS Office skills is all you need from an IT perspective to really get kickstarted in the industry.
Okay.
I then worked through that business for the next 16 years, 17 years almost.
Okay.
So I moved into transport, then export sea freight, import sea freight, import air freight, export air freight.
So you're getting really good coverage, as Paul was alluding to before about in the DSV cadetship.
Yes.
About different areas of the business.
I essentially got to work across every freight forwarding department or department of the business.
Yep.
Before moving into a managerial role as operations manager, and later as a director of operations for the business.
Right. And then you did something in Darwin, you told me about.
I did, yeah. Look, my role as a director for that business took me not just around Australia, but to other parts of the world as well. And I did spend quite a lot of time in the Northern Territory, working predominantly on an oil and gas project off the coast of the Northern Territory. So that's where I came to meet and work alongside DSV. Okay. And then lo and behold, three years after that, I joined the business.
Right. And then, so you spent quite a bit of time up in Darwin, and now we're at Sydney Airport. How did you get back to Sydney? What was the journey there for you?
I was
something?
Splitting my time between Sydney and Darwin. My previous employer, their head office was still in Sydney, so I had a desk in Sydney and a desk in Darwin.
Okay.
My initial move to Darwin was for 6 months. I had a 6-month plan to restructure our branch operation up there, and that's 6 months, 3 years.
3 years, okay.
It blew out a little bit in that regard, as a lot of things do.
Yeah.
Look, I got to know DSV during that time and work alongside them because we don't have an operation in the Northern Territory.
Right, so they were a partner for you up there?
They were, yeah, and to this day we still are a partner.
That's great. So the relationship stayed after all these years?
Very much so.
Yeah.
And look, an opportunity arose to join the DSV team, and I had my sights set on returning to Sydney. Darwin and the Northern Territory in general is a beautiful place, but my home is definitely on the East Coast. Right. So my family was still down here at the time. I have 3 young children, so it was time eventually to come home and join DSV.
Right. So you came back to Sydney and eventually took over as the branch manager of Sydney.
Correct.
And how many staff do you have here in the Sydney operations you're responsible for?
We have 87 staff on site.
Okay.
We have got a mixture of New South Wales branch operations. We have some head office staff that actually report into managers in our Victorian head office.
Yep, back where Paul was.
And we have our brokerage team, our northern brokerage team sitting here too. So staff that I guess directly report to myself is 62 staff in total.
Okay, and have you enjoyed looking after the staff? That's a whole different role than than doing stuff in freight forwarding operations, managing people.
Yeah, look, absolutely. That's my passion at the end of the day is leadership, and you know, really working with people to achieve their best in the industry, both as an individual and as a professional. In my previous roles, of course, they were all very people focused as well. Yeah, joining DSV really was just a continuation and the next step for myself in my career journey in the industry.
And Paul sort of did allude to that in some sense, where he said part of the role is really about communicating with customers.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah. Keeping them informed.
He hit the nail on the head. At the end of the day, we're a service industry.
Yep.
We don't own aircraft. We don't own vessels.
Yep.
At the end of the day, we have to utilize third parties in that regard. It's all about the service that we provide to our customers, and that is the business's number one focus.
You come into the industry, and I think Paul said the same thing, not necessarily through a university degree. Have you had the opportunity to get other education through either through the DSV or your past organisation or TAFE or
my previous employer? Yes, I completed a Certificate 4 in freight forwarding through my previous employer, then a Certificate 4 in management, and then a diploma in management, and then started studying remotely when Australian universities started up, I guess you could say, and started studying the supply chain and logistics degree through RMIT, but remotely through Open University.
Right.
So,
you talked about the 80 staff that you're responsible for in Sydney. Is it all right if we go and meet some of those staff?
Yeah, absolutely. Let's do it.
Lead the way.
Great.
Just
grab your best, Rob.
Okay. We need that. Why do we need that, Matt? What do we need?
We will be walking through a fully operational warehouse when we do get downstairs. There are forklifts buzzing around. There's heavy equipment, hoists, X-ray machines. Safety is a top priority, not just in DSV, but the logistics industry in general. A lot of moving parts, so everybody has to be aware and highly visible.
Okay, let's go.
Okay, great.
Lead the way.
All right, Rob, we'll be talking to Sun first.
Okay, Sun, how are you? Now, Sun, you and I have met before, but you're actually not Australian, are you?
Yeah, so I'm from Denmark.
Right, so you used to work for DSV in Denmark, or you've been transferred? What was the arrangement?
So I was started in 2015 as a trainee in Denmark at one of the smaller offices.
Right.
With 2-year education. And then probably 6 months after I was done, then I got the opportunity to come to Sydney.
Right. And what sort of role are you in Sydney? What's your role? There's lots of people in this office here.
Yeah.
And what department or area are you in right now, Sun?
So yeah, I'm in sales. So I'm a business development manager.
What does that mean to somebody at high school?
Yeah, so for example, what I do is I try to both have some existing customers and new customers, get them to use DSV services and add value to them. So for example, if a customer that imports to Australia, exports to Australia, I try to get a meeting with them and talk with them and like, what are their requirements? So setting up a structure for them, offering DSV services.
So while you're in the office here today, you're actually out on the road as well, seeing customers?
Yeah. So
subject to COVID, of course. But
yeah. Under normal circumstances, I would probably have 5 to 6 meetings a week with the new and existing customers on the road. And that would be all over Australia, because what I did in Denmark, I was operational staff for export out of Europe. So my main focus is the trade with Australia and Europe. So predominantly customers in Australia that import from European suppliers.
Right. And did you do education, or I think you were talking about a cadetship, etc.?
Yeah.
So is that training you got to do after hours, or is that training you do during work time?
That's during work time. So what the structure was for DSV in Denmark was that it's a 2-year traineeship where you have 12, 14 weeks on school while you work at the company. So then, for example, I would go and live on the school for 2 weeks together with other trainees. So at that time where I was a trainee, there was 40, 45 trainees at DSV Denmark. Wow. So we had a really good relationship and went out together and had a night out and played soccer together and stuff like that. So where we worked across the Scandinavian region, basically.
Okay. And DSV, what does that actually say to me in Dutch?
It is de samensluttede vognmænd.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's a bit of a tricky one. Nobody uses that anymore. That was
Right.
only when it started.
And are you happy here in Sydney, or are you looking to, you know, move to, I don't know, Los Angeles, which obviously Paul was alluding to, the people on the recording before, that you can move around in this industry?
You can. I'm really happy in Sydney, and it's also a great opportunity in terms of it pulls you out of the comfort zone a bit. So you get away from family, friends, and what you normally do, and you sort of get pushed over the edge and keep on getting occupied. And then obviously also the weather is a bit better down here than it is in Denmark.
Right.
But I would definitely say within DSV, I'm really happy with it. And DSV moves a lot of people around.
Right.
So for example, out of those 40 trainees that we had, probably half of them got sent out of Denmark to US, Canada, South America.
Great contacts to have in the future, isn't it?
Exactly. So, and you try to educate people more and more and more, and make sure that they keep being challenged, which is the main thing.
All right. Thank you very much, Sun. Really appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Have a good day.
Okay, guys, keep making our way through level 2 here in Mascot. I'm going to head down to level 1 and catch up with some more of our trainees, in fact.
Okay, great. So operationally, everyone's using systems, etc.
Yeah, so we have a global operating system. Oh, sorry. Yes, sorry. Of course. Yeah, we're not heading to level 1 yet, guys. Danny, almost forgot you there.
Danny, sorry, mate. How are you? Mate, first off, Danny, what's your role?
My role here is a customs broker, which pretty much means I handle all the imports and the customs clearance into Australia.
Right. You're a little bit older than Sun. You've been in the industry for a while.
Yeah, I've been in 25 years. I came literally straight from school.
Right. What made you come from school into this industry?
I was, like most people in year 12, you're sitting there thinking, what am I going to do with my life?
Right.
And I was looking at people going to uni, doing an arts degree, getting into debt, and then not getting a job. And I thought, that doesn't really sound that appealing. And then I saw other people on the other end of the spectrum getting into a dead-end job, and I thought, oh, that doesn't really look that appealing either.
Right.
Whereas my specific role here, I could work full-time, I could get real-life experience in a real office with real people, and then I could study on the side as well, which complemented the course and complemented the job. So I was learning both at the same time. So I'd literally pick up skills in the day, and then that night in the classroom, I would hear certain words where I'd think, oh, I heard that word today.
Right.
I understand what that means. Like I can join the dots now. So it wasn't all just theory and hype. Like I could actually apply it to my day-to-day job. So for me, it was a bit of a light at the end of the tunnel.
Okay, that's great. Did the study take a long time, being a licensed customs broker? How long does that take?
3 years at TAFE.
Part-time?
Yeah, so working full-time and then studying 2 nights.
Yeah.
Which
so you could do, obviously.
You could do. It wasn't easy, but what is easy in life? So I thought I might as well suck it up and do it. And then at the end of that, there's an exam that needs to be sat, which is within this industry. That's an independent body that runs that exam.
Okay, all right. And I noticed that you're actually, I know it's casual day, everybody. But you're not in. You're in a very casual outfit.
I am very casual.
Why is that?
Sometimes I like to come in early, miss peak hour traffic, and work out in the gym downstairs.
So the organisation DSV has a gym that the staff can use.
Yeah, they have that all there, so it's quite convenient.
Oh, that's really good to hear. And do you see yourself? You've obviously been in the industry for 20 years or so. Is it somewhere you want to stay? Do you want to move out of the customs department and move somewhere else?
In customs specifically, I feel quite at home, and ironically, I moved overseas for a time. And
with DSV or through
through other avenues. But when I moved back to the country, I thought, am I going to be able to get a job back in the industry? And there was job interviews lined up, and DSV was just a no-brainer. That was the obvious one to roll with.
Now, in this industry, we talked before, Matt was talking about IT, and one of the skills that the students need to be able to have is to have some IT skills, which 16-year-old, 17-year-old students would have, no problem. But I noticed I'm looking at your desk, and besides the recognition of service award from DSV, which is great, there is a computer. Got it. So what is this thing here?
So that is the tariff. Now this is the tariff, but it's all online now. This is more of an antique. But for moments such as this, if people want to know what we're physically doing, pretty much everything in the world can get classified into a chapter here, and that will tell us what duty you pay.
And classified means what? Just quickly an acronym.
In this tariff,
yeah,
97 chapters, how do we work out what pays what? This might pay a different duty rate to this.
Yeah, and duty is like a tax.
It is a tax.
The government levies?
Yeah, exactly. And this will tell us what we pay, just to keep it fair, to use a general term.
Right. Okay. All right. Thank you very much, Danny. Really appreciate it.
All the best, guys.
Right, cheers, mate.
Okay, now we'll make our way down to level 1. So we are split over 3 levels here, guys.
Yep.
And we'll be walking through both level 1, level 2, and then into the warehouse.
Okay. Down the stairs. Aaron?
Yes. Morning. How are you?
Morning. Morning, everybody.
Good morning. How are you? Good.
Morning, guys.
Morning.
How are you? Aaron.
Aaron, hi, mate. How are you?
Good, thanks.
Now, Aaron, what's your role at DSV? And I heard you're a trainee.
Yes, I'm a
So
trainee.
maybe you could tell us a little bit about what all that means.
So basically, I do a traineeship.
You might just
Or,
need to speak up.
Oh, sorry.
They're down in Melbourne, mate. They're a long way
okay.
away.
So I do a traineeship with a company called My Freight Career, MFC. Basically goes for 2 years minimum.
Yeah. You're obviously getting paid at the same time, Aaron?
Yes, I get paid. So basically, they find a host company for you to be in.
So they actually found DSV for you?
Yeah.
Okay.
They find it for me. So and then you work while you're doing your traineeship. So you do like assessments and whatnot along the way.
Yeah.
And at the same time, you also get hands-on experience.
Right.
So it's not just all.
So when you went initially to My Freight Career and said, I don't know why did you choose this industry to start with? And then what did My Freight Career, why did they pick you as opposed to picking Matt or Paul or Robert to put into DSV?
How I got into it is my brother actually works in the industry as well. So he's been in it nearly 10 years and he sort of just recommended it to me.
Okay.
Because after school, I wasn't exactly sure what to do.
That's what older brothers are for, mate, aren't they?
Pretty much. Yeah. So I was doing hospitality before and then he sort of just recommended My Freight Career.
Yep.
He said, go through these guys.
And did you have to go and have an interview at My Freight Career? Did you have to give them your results from high school, school certificate exams or whatever?
It's a bit like applying for TAFE.
Yeah.
So, whatever the equivalent is in Melbourne.
Yeah.
So,
TAFE. Yep.
Yeah. So you just, you give your details, your high school certificate.
Yep.
And then you go for about 2 weeks. You do like a introductory course.
Does that cost you money?
No.
So at this stage, you haven't had to pay a cent.
No.
You've just had to put yourself forward and try and jump into the deep end of the pool.
Yeah, pretty much. Pretty much.
So you've gone there, you've had an interview, and for 2 weeks, what are you doing, like an introductory sort of course or something?
So it's just like it's like an outline of the whole industry in general.
Right. And at the end of that, say after a week, you thought, oh, I don't really like this. I want to go back to hospitality. My big brother got it wrong. Could you leave, and would it cost you a penalty financially or?
Not that I know of.
Okay,
actually.
all right.
Yeah.
So 2 weeks. At the end of the 2 weeks, you say, "Look, this is the industry I'd like to have a go at." And My Freight Career, who you mentioned before, would you be able to find me a suitable employer? Is that sort of what happened?
Yeah. So basically, during the 2 weeks, they'll basically be, watching you, seeing how you're doing with your work.
Yeah.
And based
sort
on
of schoolwork sort of stuff, or is it more task orientated?
It's more task orientated, I want to say.
Yeah.
I can't exactly remember because I did it a while ago now.
Okay.
But yeah, it's pretty much like a classroom.
Okay.
So say there'll be about like 20 of you.
Okay.
And
So you can share. It's like
yeah.
And then when you came here, so what department am I in right now?
So this is all air exports.
Air exports. Yeah. So you've obviously got someone who's helping you and teaching you.
Yes.
And is that this gentleman here?
Well, this Jesse.
Jesse.
And
Jesse.
Michael over there.
How long have you been in the industry?
I've been in the industry for 8 years.
Okay. And always in export air?
always in expo. I've done a few roles, like I did air freight, sea freight.
Okay, so you got some experience.
Yeah, you can say that.
All right, and Aaron, is he a good teacher?
Very,
very good.
outstanding.
Teacher. Outstanding. All right. So do you see yourself? I mean, the main thing for the students who are listening to this recording in Melbourne is that would they see themselves in your role? It didn't cost you anything. Chance to jump in the deep end of the pool, get trained by not only someone as good as Jesse, but My Freight Career, and then other people within the organisation, and you're getting paid at the same time.
Yeah, pretty much.
Is that pretty much what it is?
Yeah.
All right, mate. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thanks, Aaron.
Bye. Either way, Matt. Thanks, Jesse.
Should be back.
Going to have a quick chat to Tara. Tara, good morning. Again.
Morning.
Tara, I believe you're also a trainee.
Yes, I am.
And is that through My Freight Career or through a different structure?
Through My Freight Career.
Okay. And how did you get into, we just heard from Aaron about his experience, his big brother told him what to do, so he followed his big brother. How did you get into this industry?
I was looking for a job, going through Seek, and I came across
Going through Seek.
Seek,
Yeah.
and I came across an ad for pre-vocational course for international freight forwarding.
Right.
And I'm like, what is freight forwarding? Like,
Now you got the chance to tell everybody in Victoria what is freight forwarding.
oh Lord.
Come on, Tara, tell us. Did you go to year 12 or year 10, or what did you do?
I finished year 11.
Year
and
11,
then
okay, yep.
Then I left and went into retail and hospitality.
And you found you didn't quite like that? Or
I
what?
did not like that, no.
Okay. Because of the hours, because of the customers, what was the?
It was a mix of kind of both. Like there was a whole bunch of things I didn't like about those industries.
Yeah.
Like they're fantastic industries. I commend anyone who goes into them,
Right.
but it just wasn't
For
for
you.
me.
That's fine. And it's all about people finding their own careers. So you went on to Seek, saw the ad, applied. And
Yeah,
what was the process from there?
And got called up, did the pre-vocational course, which was a couple of weeks.
Yeah, which is Aaron just told us about that. Yep.
Yep. And then I went interviewing at companies.
And did you have to find DSV, or DSV did My Freight Career find?
My Freight Career helped place me.
So they actually found you an employer.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And now you're studying at the same time as working?
Yes,
What-
which is the best way to do it.
The best way. What department am I in at the moment?
Import C,
Import C. And who's your go-to person?
my go-to person.
When you say, I don't know what I'm doing here. Is
It would either be Angelo over there.
Angela? Angelo. Sorry, Angelo. My apology.
Or Alex over there.
Oh, Alex. Okay.
Like that.
All right. Okay, Alex. Hi, mate. Right. So how much longer have you got to go on your traineeship?
A couple months.
All right. Okay. So
Yeah.
so by maybe February, March next year, you'll
January.
be January.
January. I'm hoping.
So at the end of that, so similar to Aaron said, that you're getting paid, you're getting trained to have to do some assignments and online training, and you're getting taught by people within DSV. At the end of January, do you stay at DSV or do you have to go back to Seek and start looking again?
The hope is that I stay with DSV.
And what's the key to you staying at DSV? You liking DSV or DSV liking you?
Both.
Okay. All right.
I'm hoping that I stay here.
And do you get sort of regular reviews about your performance, a bit like a school report sort of thing?
I think my trainer talks to my manager.
Right.
And they talk amongst themselves, but I don't think I've had a review.
Okay. And do you see yourself staying on in this industry going forward?
I do. I really like it.
You really like it?
I think I found what I want to do.
No more retail.
No more retail.
All right. Okay. Thank you very much, Tara.
Thank you. Have a lovely day.
Thanks, Tara.
Guys,
Chance, mate.
I'll make our way down to the warehouse.
Okay.
If anybody's wondering, Tara has nothing to worry about. She's a standout.
That's a good point.
And she'll absolutely be joining the, or continuing with the team in the new year.
No, that's good to know. I'm just going to put on my, you just hold, you want to put your vest on first, and then I'll put mine on. Make sure we look after ourselves from a safety point of view. Thanks, Matt.
Okay. Everybody can watch Rob putting a vest on.
Done this before in my
You
life.
have done it before?
All right, lead the way. So security important in this industry?
Yes, absolutely. We are entering very shortly a customs bonded 77G warehouse and a quarantine approved class 1.3 depot.
So they're government.
Absolutely, customs have the right to come in here at any time they want, ask us about what cargo may be sitting in here, take a look at whatever cargo may be sitting in here at the time. They have the right to access it at any time. So there are rules and regulations that stipulate how we must treat cargo in our control, both when it's under customs control and being cleared. So it is a fairly, I guess, regimented process in regards to the release of cargo. Denny alluded to it upstairs.
Yes,
classifying and clearing goods. Until something is cleared, it has to sit inside some form of 77G bonded facility.
Okay, and secure. So therefore, security. And what you're going to do right now is use a swipe.
We have swipe keys, full access control, so not everybody can get into the warehouse, of course.
Okay. So
and our gym, just to comment on what Danny mentioned before, our gym can be found at the top there.
Okay.
I will tell the kids that not all freight forwarders have gyms. It's the first one I've worked for with the gym, but it was really something the staff got together and thought, it'd be nice to use that empty space as something more.
Matt, what is that big thing in the middle of the warehouse?
That's a refrigerated container. So it's not running at the moment.
What does that mean?
It has a refrigeration system up at the back there.
Yeah.
Plugged into phase 3 electricity. Now we have goods come through the facility that are temperature controlled. Those goods then are placed into there at a set temperature. So and it's fairly similar to, don't worry about the outside, it's really what's on the inside.
Yeah.
It's a fully insulated container.
Right.
So it has less space than a 40-foot, standard 40-foot general purpose container, simply because it obviously has your track system through here and your insulated walls, and you have a generator that sits in the back that pumps air into the container.
And this is for movement on a vessel?
This one is permanently here.
Right.
Yes, of course. We move refrigerated goods from port to port inside one of these.
Right. And there, I think Paul was talking some things about mass, how important mass is, and there's some good examples there of being able to make sure you know what's going on.
Exactly, knowing what maximum weights are, what cubic measurement you can fit inside a container. I'm very grateful that I managed to start my career off in the industry in a warehouse, because it allows you to understand what a cubic meter really looks like, what 1.6 meters high for a passenger aircraft belly hold looks like. So I'll make our way across to the warehouse office over here.
A little bit noisier down here than in the general office area.
Yeah, it is, and the guys haven't even got the radio on at the moment, so it'll get noisier later as all of our exports come in here and start getting loaded up over here onto these pallets. You can see they're aircraft pallets or PMCs, and the guys in the warehouse will start loading those up in the afternoon for the weekend air freight. Okay. Good morning.
Hello.
How are you?
Good, how are you?
Good.
Hi.
Hi, Betty.
Monica?
Monica.
Yes.
Sorry. Monica, my apologies.
That's okay.
So, Monica, what's your role at DSV and how long have you been here for?
I'm the logistics coordinator.
Which means what to
Which
us?
means, so we do a lot of online orders. So if you guys say, place an order, and then we pick it and we ship it out.
Okay.
So next time you place an order, it's pretty much the same thing. They'll pick it, they'll ship it out to you.
Okay. And how long have you been at DSV for, Monica?
6 years now.
Right. And where were you beforehand?
I was in customs.
Customs, federal customs.
No, upstairs.
Oh,
in
still
the
working.
customs department.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
working with Danny.
Yes, I was
Right.
working with Daniel.
Right. Okay. And so you decided to move out of the customs area and come down into the warehouse area.
Yeah.
Because you saw that as an opportunity, or you just wanted to.
I saw it as an opportunity. I thought I'd try the warehouse, and it's awesome.
It's awesome.
Oh, I do. I actually love it. I love coming to work, which is.
And what's a normal day for you? Are you a shift worker? Is it Monday to Friday? Is it start at 4 in the morning, finish at 10 at night? I don't know.
So I start at 7
Yeah.
in the morning and I finish at 3:30.
Yeah.
I do every second Sunday as well, because we still have freight coming in and out.
Yep.
So we have to actually, work weekends as well, which is fine.
Right. And what about training? What sort of training have you? Is it your training more on the job training situation?
It's pretty much all on the job down here. You learn as you go, and it's exciting. We've got forklifts driving around. We've got drivers coming in looking for paperwork and containers being unpacked.
Right. And is sea freight or air freight, is the process the same, or is it, if you learn air freight, can you apply yourself in sea freight or vice versa?
It's similar, very similar. There's just a couple of little extras that we have to do, say for sea freight or little extras for air freight.
And do you see yourself moving out of the warehouse and I don't know, where Sun was maybe it's sales next move?
I can't sell. I love it down here.
Okay.
Yeah, it's awesome.
All right. Thank you very much for your time.
You're welcome.
Cheers. Fadia, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Good. Now, Fadia, I believe we're talking upstairs to Tara and Aram, and who are My Freight Career trainees, but yours is a different pathway into this industry. You're a DSV cadet, which actually Paul mentioned in his opening remarks. Do you want to explain what does that mean?
So basically I go around every department for about 3 months in each department, and I learn everything there is to know about the department.
So how long have you been at DSV?
A year now.
8 years?
No, 1 year now.
Oh, 1 year. Sorry, my hearing's sorry, 1 year.
Yeah.
And so how long does that process take moving around?
Every 3 months I go into each department, but altogether it's 2 years.
Okay, and do you have to do any study?
Yeah, assignments every other week.
Every other week.
Yeah, assessments. Yeah.
Those assignments done by your colleagues giving you those assignments and tests?
So My Freight Career
it's the same organisation.
Assessments every 2 weeks or so.
Yeah.
And it's related to what department I'm in at the moment.
It's very specific.
Yes.
Okay.
And then, if I'm stuck on a question or whatever,
I go to
Monica.
There you go.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. And in the sense of when you finish that couple of years and you finish your cadetships, what do you want to do? Do you get to pick a department that you like the most?
I do get to pick a department. At the moment, I'm really enjoying the warehouse.
Okay, that's good. Monica's here. She's obviously very good.
Yeah, it's awesome. Right. But every department's pretty big.
Okay. And how did you get from school? So where did you get to in school?
So I was in retail from year 12. Finished year 12, finished my ATAR,
did all that?
Yep. And then I was still at work, so I started when I was 14 in retail.
Okay.
And then I thought I needed to change after work, and I was job seeking, and this came up.
How did this? It was an ad in Seek or in the paper from DSV as cadetship.
Yeah, and this just popped up.
All right. So let's go back a couple of years, and you were going for that ad, and you obviously had to put in, I assume, a resume.
Yeah.
Okay. So given that you'd had some previous part-time work experience at school, did that help you in your applying for the job, that DSV felt comfortable that you understood what work was about and responsibilities?
Yeah, I guess you work in a team, and you just.
Where were you working before when
it came up?
It's as good as
So you're always socializing with customers and things like that, and it helps you as well when you talk to customers and your colleagues. So,
right. Okay. And then at the end of the couple of years, then you can just pick a department.
Hopefully, pick a department. Yeah.
All right. Okay. And would you recommend this as an industry?
100%.
Okay. What's
the environment here and the culture is amazing. I love it. I love coming to work. So.
That's good. All right. Thank you very much.
No problem.
Okay.
Thank you.
So Matt, we're going to now
have a good time for a quick walk in the warehouse, or
quick walk. Yeah, quick walk in the warehouse, and then maybe
upstairs for some questions.
Okay.
Yeah. Enjoy.
Sure.
So quick walk through the warehouse.
Show everyone just some of the moving parts down here. You can see a large roller bed system over here. Now this is for rolling aircraft units around on once they're packed, or even when they're empty. Yeah. You can see one back there all roped up, wrapped up, ready for either loading out as an exporter. It may even still be one of the morning imports coming in to be unpacked on that side of our warehouse. Yeah. You can see a little bit of action, hear a little bit of action behind us here. We've got Anthony here on the forklift putting a pallet of goods onto our X-ray machine. Okay. And now that's being screened by an individual sitting in our screening shack over there. and essentially being either deemed clear or of a risk.
Right. So every bit of cargo going onto an aircraft has to be security screened.
It has to undergo some form of electronic screening, unless the exporter is part of what we call the known constant ore program with the Australian government.
Right. Once again, you're getting back to that point you said before, the government.
Highly regulated, yes, absolutely. At the end of the day, this is all about keeping passengers safe on board an aircraft.
And there's lots of storage racking down the end.
Yes.
Matt, what's all that about?
So while DSV Air and Sea, our division here, is very much the forwarding arm of DSV and very much a transit warehouse, we do have I guess you could say, a small group of customers that we do 3PL work, where we're doing picking and packing, which Monica alluded to before.
Okay.
Picking the goods, dispatching them to customers. Some of them are business to business. Some of them are business to an individual.
Like me at home.
Exactly right.
My home
we have everything from vitamin drinks to barbecues and drilling equipment in there.
Okay. All right. Thanks. All right. Let's wander back upstairs.
Yep.
That's okay.
Absolutely. This side over here, Rob, is our bonded area. So everything, correct, everything sitting in here would most likely still be customs held.
Right. So Danny hasn't finished his job?
Danny hasn't finished his job yet.
Right. Okay. Yep, straight up. A little bit of damn. I need a joke or something, don't I?
If you guys can just grab a camera and serves as an exercise for the day when you get stuck behind the desk.
Well, we haven't got to the gym, have we?
No, that's right. Yeah. Okay, so we'll head into the boardroom, guys, and if you've got any questions for us, we'll do our best to answer them.
Danny's here already. Well done, mate.
We're just telling you guys about all the cargo that's not cleared in the warehouse, and Rob suggested you're not doing your job. But
oh, really? That's what the rest of the Friday afternoons for.
Okay. So there's a question already. Robin, I hope you will now come back up into the boardroom. I hope you can hear me, but there's a question already asking, does My Freight Career offer traineeships in Melbourne?
Oh, yes.
Yes, absolutely they do.
Can you hear us, Rob?
Yes, I was going to, actually, I had that question to ask you, but you picked that one up. That's good. And then there were the other questions I forwarded to you this morning, which may have been answered already. Yeah, I'll leave it. Yeah. Yeah,
some of them have. I suppose, is any of the other students might have a question? Robin, can you see that through the chat or not?
I can through the Q&A, but the only one I had during the thing is, yeah, do my freight career offer traineeships in Melbourne. And I know, Robert, you're tied up with My Freight Career, and you can certainly answer that one because we've done some work with you on that.
Yeah, My Freight Career offer traineeships throughout Australia, so any state. So if you're involved. So we've got everybody back in the room. Let's just ask a couple of general questions. I feel like we're missing someone. Aaron. There you go. All right. Okay. So as a team that have come to DSV, what's the thing that has surprised you? I'll just quickly go around the room. Surprised you about coming into this industry? Something you didn't really realise. So when you were 18 or 20, or what's something that's absolutely surprised you about this industry? Tara?
I didn't know that everything that went into it. Like, you don't know, like, from the outside what's going on. Like, you know, I didn't see containers on the road before I started working in the industry.
Now you see them all the time,
all the time,
yeah.
Everywhere. So yeah, that's what shocked me the most. Like, it's everywhere, and I just didn't see it.
Okay, all right.
It's constant, all day, every day.
Constant.
Yeah, which
that's
is
a good
great,
thing.
keeps
So
you
you're not bored.
Yeah, which is a good thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Monica?
Same as Tara. I never saw a container on the road once.
Right. And now you see them all the time.
They're everywhere.
Right. Okay. Sun?
Yeah, well, probably what surprised me the most was how big of an impact it has on everyday's life when the supply chain don't go as planned. So, for example, especially Australia as a nation where almost everything is imported. So if we don't get the job done, then the shops runs out of product, for example.
Well, I think that's the important thing that I know that with COVID, the Australian government back in March, April said that the freight forwarding industry was going to be classified as an essential service because they had to make sure the PPE equipment goods coming in to help us fight off COVID got through. And it was people like the people in this room at DSV that actually made that happen. Danny, what about yourself?
Yeah, I was going to echo those exact same words.
Do something different then.
It was an essential service, but regardless of a pandemic, being in Australia, we live on an island. We have to import a lot, and regardless of what's happening in the economy or with pandemics or the health, we're still going to have to import things. So there's always going to be a job here. So that I find that quite interesting. That the industry is not disappearing. Technology may change, but the industry is not going.
I think that's a really good point, Danny. It's a really, really good point. People might see industries disappearing, but this industry has been going since ships and trucks and carts were moving around Europe many, many years ago, and it's still going to be here, even though technology is changing. Matt, what about for you?
Probably the size of the industry. I never knew how big the industry really was, and like everybody else, most of us hadn't heard about freight forwarding until we ended up in it.
Right.
It's a global industry, of course. On top of that, probably the complexity associated with some movements in the supply chain in general. That was a surprise to me.
Okay. Yeah. Aaron, just going to put you on notice because you walked in a bit late. You're obviously doing work that these guys should have done. So the question is, when you came into this industry, what was the thing that surprised you that you just didn't even think about before you even got here? Something
that's a good question.
That's why I asked it, mate. Anything in particular?
I think just the scope, eh? Yeah.
Scope as in?
Like, you don't really realise how involved and how massive the whole thing is. Like, it's all kind of under one ship.
Right. Okay. All right. Next question. We probably got about another 2 minutes because we've got to wrap up about 10:30.
Yeah, we've got another one, Robert, that's come through Q&A too.
Okay. Ask away.
Okay. So this one is, how many times a year are traineeships and cadetships offered?
We might throw to Tara and Aaron. When did you actually apply?
I think I applied in June.
Okay, and then you started in
July, late July.
Okay, so within sort of a month or so, it was done. Aaron, what about yourself? You big brother helping you?
I think I applied in February.
Yeah.
And I got it in around March.
Okay, so similar. Yeah. So
I might add to that, Rob.
Sure.
Paul alluded to it earlier. DSV is investing in our future team.
Mm-hmm.
Our strategy for our cadetship is an intake of 1 to 2 cadets a year.
By Australia-wide or branch-wise, or what?
For the 2 larger branches in Melbourne and Sydney.
Yeah.
1 to 2 per branch. Obviously, depending on business conditions.
Sure. That's the difficult year.
The strategy for the business.
Okay. All right. And for the students back in Melbourne, we've talked about DSV being a large global organisation with how many offices around the world?
Oh, is it 2,000 to 3,000?
1,500?
Yeah.
Right. How many employees?
44,000.
Right. And turns over how much revenue?
Oh gosh, globally, well into the
billions. Okay. So let's say one of the students listening to us now thinks, well, look, I don't really want to work for an organisation that's got 20, 30,000 employees across 200 countries. I'm a little bit more insecure or just want to be working in a small team. Is there the opportunities, and maybe this is for Matt and maybe for Monica and Danny, who have been in the industry for a bit longer, is there an opportunity to work in smaller organisations besides a big multinational? So Matt, I might throw to you first.
Absolutely, and as I said earlier,
not that there's anything wrong with DSV, of course.
Exactly right. Look, absolutely there is. There's a lot of Australian-owned freight forwarders out there. Everything from you know, a one-man show right up to a couple of hundred people, and still Australian-owned. As I said earlier, I started in the industry at a medium-sized Australian freight forwarder.
Yeah.
So absolutely, if you're not sure about joining a large multinational, there's a lot of different options for you to get into the industry.
So you could go and, Danny, maybe cut your teeth and learn customs broking at a small organisation, and then.
I actually started in a small Aussie freight forwarder, so my first 3-4 years was in that, and then I only really left that for growth in a larger company like DSV. So in a lot of ways, it was a good place to start out in a smaller one.
And get some exposure. Monica, anything that, given your experience, number of years?
Personally, I do like a larger environment.
Right.
It's more, I think it's just more, it's happy. A lot of people get together.
Yep.
Just the culture is a bit more
So
energetic.
There's social events and team events. I know Sonia had a football you were holding before.
Yeah, well, I think most of it comes down to not so much about the size of organization, but more like how the organization is structured. Yes, we are a very big organization, but the office I worked in Denmark, even though that's sort of head country, we were 6 people. So you got sort of had to do everything, but you get the benefit of a large organization and also the possibilities of expanding like your own career overseas. So there's pros and cons on both sides of it, but where a lot of companies that are big have, you know, layers of managers and all that, where we are very flat. So it doesn't matter if you're in the office with 6 people or 50 or 100, you will still develop your own role in that.
Okay, all right. It's now 10:30. So, Robin, unless there's any other questions.
There was one that's just come in. You started to touch on it. I think, Danny, this question is, Danny mentioned before that the company has a gym. What are some of the other benefits that CSV offer you as workers? This one's just coming on Q&A. And then we'll finish on that one, perhaps.
Monica, given you've got some years of experience, so I'll stay away from Matt because Matt's the branch manager here. So let's go to some of the employees. Is it social? Is it you paid above the award wage? What is it?
Okay, so with the gym, it's pretty much everyone just can put in whatever they want if they've got like old dumbbells or whatever.
Oh yeah, okay, yeah.
They
so
can
it's
put it in.
Community
Yeah,
gym.
everyone can use it. And what else do we do here? We got oh yeah, basketball. That's right.
Basketball team.
We missed the trophies, unfortunately.
Yeah,
we missed the trophies.
We play basketball every Wednesday against other companies around the area.
Oh, in the Sydney mascot area.
Just
okay.
around this area. Yeah.
Okay.
And
what about
don't forget to mention 6-time champions.
6 times champions. There you go. There you go. All right. And social events and stuff like that.
Yeah, we go out for drinks. We do sometimes Matt will just put on birthday cakes.
Yeah.
COVID's unfortunately ruined our usual year of birthday cakes.
Yes.
We usually enter teams in some of the running festivals.
Okay.
But everything has been postponed this year. So
okay. Let's hope
our
2021.
year of fundraising and activities with each other outside of the office have been a little bit limited.
So fundraising, you help some community charity type.
Yeah, look, the team recently participated in September, and the winning team donated the money raised during that to the Sydney Children's Hospital.
Oh, great cause.
So I think everybody really enjoys, I know I do, getting involved with that side of things.
All right.
And it brings the team closer, as the guys said, you know, it's about culture. Okay. And that's on us to build.
Yep. All right. Robin, any others? Otherwise, I'll throw back to you.
No, that's it. And just to finish off, look, I really want to, on behalf of the 4 schools and the students who are listening today and some of the other attendees, look, thank you for your time, because you are an industry that operates through today, and it's been very gracious of you to give your time. I've really enjoyed it, and sitting here having a view of the mascot, of your facility mascot's been great. And also to Robert, thank you, because I know that working with you, this has been an immense amount of your time and effort to get the connections and to get it done. It was excellent today. And I'm sure that the students that were listening today got a lot out of it, and certainly are able to see how big and varied and complex and what the opportunities are in the logistics industry. So on that note, I'd like to thank everybody for participating today and giving your time, and all the best for the future with your work at DSV.
Thank you very much, Rob. Cheers, mate. Bye, students.
Okay.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.
Bye.